The real complainers last night, in big numbers, Evertonians. Not only did they not sign anyone, it looked as if they might get Andre Ayew over the line. They didn't even get that.
That would have been a good one.
So here's the deal.
I like him.
Arsenal on Saturday, 12:30, live on talkSPORT. Dare the Everton board make their return to Goodison?
Well, they should do. Whether they do or not, we'll have to wait and see. I think what's more relevant is what they do on the pitch. What short time Dyche has had to have an impact on how they're going to play. We'll see that quite quickly, I think. I mean, they've got numbers in the squad. When you actually look at the squad, you know, they've got plenty of midfielders, they've got defenders. You could argue the full-back area is a bit weak. Maybe they should have tried to do something there. I like the young lad, Pat, the Scottish boy. He's really good, but he's had a few injury problems, and Coleman's nearing the end. Right back could have been somewhere that maybe they looked. But
I mean, they brought in nobody.
It's the striking thing that shocked me, because they're not going to get a 20-goal-a-season striker going to Everton in a relegation fight. But some presence up there, somebody they can get the ball up to, somebody they can get crosses in the box to help Calvert-Lewin, because Mopai not up to it, I'm afraid. He's been playing Damari Gray at times central striker. He's better out wide where he can run at people, a bit like the Rashford argument. You know, he's better when he's got the play in front of him. He's going at people, whipping crosses in, scoring goals from outside the box. So I was really surprised they didn't get a striker in. But if there wasn't one that they could afford or one that was willing to go, then what do you do? What do you do? There's only so many options.
I mean, is there enough in the squad for Dyche alone to steer Everton out of trouble?
I don't think so, no.
They're going down?
I think they've got a mountain to climb in that the next two games, you don't really fancy them home to Arsenal and away at Liverpool. I know Liverpool aren't playing great, but a derby game at Anfield, Everton don't generally do very well in it. Well, they don't. I think it's a big ask for Sean Dyche. I think if he manages to keep them up with the squad he's got with no signings and how low on confidence they are, it would be not far off a miracle.
I mean, there wasn't much time between Dyche coming in, Alex, and the window shutting.
That's because they held on to Frank Lampard, a manager who clearly wasn't up to the job for too long. You know, they should have fired him before the World Cup. I saw both of their last games before the World Cup. They got hammered in the League Cup by Bournemouth, and they went back there a few days later and got hammered in the Premier League. How he survived that, right, I'll never know. And if they made the decision then to part company and bring in Sean Dyche, they'd have had a whole January to come up with some kind of policy and work out exactly what they wanted to do with the window. A club like Everton shouldn't be scrambling around for a pass to Andre Ayew on deadline. That's embarrassing.
Are they weaker now that Gordon's gone?
Yeah. I mean, he's not been great, but he's a match winner. If Sean Dyche could have got him playing. So are Everton stronger now than when they went into the window? Clearly not, because they've not signed anybody and they've sold a potential match winner. Yes, they got decent money. That 45 million is not going to help them stay in the Premier
Although
League.
the signing of Dyche is a very good one. For me, he was the standout candidate, and he kind of fits that Everton mentality. I think long term that's a shrewd bit of business. But I agree with you in terms of the lack of signings. It does tie his one hand behind his back, really, because they're so lacking in goals.
Simon, second guess it for me. Judging where they are at the moment in terms of their position in the Premier League and this wave of protests that's hitting the board, how do you think the board behaved last night? What do you think they were up to last night? While we were in here, were they really out there trying on all fronts to bring in a couple of signings?
It depends what you mean by the board, and depends what you're expecting from a board to do, because ultimately what you're talking about is a recruitment operative, which is the football director, being able to get a signatory from his owner and a sanction to buy a player. Now, if we anticipate, now of course if you've got multiple signings going on and you've got people in one part of the world and other people in another part of the world, then you need a network of people that are capable of being able to deliver outcomes and then centre it into a fulcrum that delivers the end product. I didn't think that Everton were going to sign any players. It didn't surprise me that they haven't signed any players, and maybe Andre Ayew can come in because he's a non-contract player. They tear up his contract and they can sign him outside of the window as a non-contract player, so they can still get him through the door. But that isn't going to lift anybody's morale. It doesn't really matter what Everton had done in this transfer window. There was still going to be a resistance and a reaction from certain fans.
Yeah.
And whether that resistance and reaction is constructive or not, it's what they're going to do. Now, Sean Dyche, despite everything, how bad Everton have been and how disenfranchised the fans are and how disillusioned everybody is, they're still only 2 points away from safety. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, have the other sides that have spent money specifically and explicitly Wolves, because that's your target, that's your chase down, has their improvement in a new manager and the players they've signed given Wolves enough juice to keep Everton at bay? That's the question we don't know yet, because we're not entirely sure what the Lopetegui effect is on Wolves right now. They're a little bit more resilient, but they've always been resilient. They just never score goals.
Well, no, they're a bit more attacking, actually. They've got a different intent about them. But yeah, I agree with you.
I like Sarabia for the money. Good player.
Well, I think he will improve them, and I think Everton are amongst it. But I keep trying to evaluate the thinking. Have they taken... I mean, Alex is absolutely spot on. The analysis of Frank Lampard about the two performances against Bournemouth, that was it. Gone, absolutely gone. No disrespect intended to Frank, but there it was. Now, you've prevaricated and pontificated, and you've allowed yourself to drift into a situation where the owner, 12 days ago, was still ruminating about the fact that in Frank we trust.
Yeah.
Which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you either did that because you decided to take the manager out at the very last knockings, spent 5 days appointing Sean Dyche. If you knew Frank Lampard was going, then you should have had Dyche or Marcelo Bielsa lined up, good to go, bang, plug and play, let's go, who do you want? But they didn't.
Yeah.
Now, that's a degree of incompetence, and it's also a degree of, I think they didn't particularly want to spend any money.
Yeah.
And it might well be that we're reading this room wrong, and I've read this room wrong, that Dyche is a play that gets you back out of the Championship. There might be a tacit acceptance amongst the board, and specifically Moshiri, because let's be honest about it, the board sit there giving Moshiri information whilst Moshiri writes checks out. Right? And the information doesn't get acknowledged by him. He makes his decisions. He rocks up and says to people, here's Benitez, you're having him. He's the one that makes it. I've alighted upon Marco Silva. I want him. I don't care what the background noise is. I don't care what everyone thinks about his journey. I want him. That's how Moshiri operates.
Yeah, but I disagree with you about almost an acceptance that it's Championship football next season. We're only halfway through the season, Simon.
Well, Sean Dyche won't be accepted.
But I think a pragmatic set of thinking, an unpalatable pragmatic set of thinking for Everton fans to hear, or anyone thinking about Everton as a football club. But I wonder if there is a tacit acceptance in Moshiri's slightly warped football mind, not warped commercial mind, but warped football mind, that the decisions he's making have got them into the situation that they're in now.
Yeah.
And Sean Dyche will most likely get you back out of the Championship if you don't lose too much of them around and destroy the entire fabric of the football club, which is currently being done because everybody is at everybody's throats.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.